Hello, my name is Emilia Diaz. I am the founder and CEO of Kaitek Labs, and I'm here to tell you the story of how we went from a crazy lab idea to an actual life-saving product. The issue that we decided to tackle, sorry, this isn't working. Thank you. The issue we're tackling is red tide. This happens when toxins produced by microalgae actually accumulate in shellfish, which are then converted in poisonous for human consumption. This is a worldwide issue. Here you can see there are 28 gravely affected countries, including mine. Chile is mainly made out of water, so anything that affects the ocean affects us even much more. Now, there are about 100,000 deaths per year. So what are we doing to stop this? We're using mouse bioassay. What is this? We take 10 mice, we inject them with water, and we wait 2 to 3 days to see how many of those die. So not only is it slow and it encourages animal testing, it's also very expensive. So our issue was, can we detect red tide toxicity with a cheap, fast, and simple method? And here comes the crazy lab idea. I said, yes, my hypothesis was we can do this through bacterial detection. Thing is, bacteria have a natural capacity to gather and process information. So why don't we teach this bacteria, hey, find me this? Why don't we give them a software, a genetic circuit, that actually enables them to target one toxin and afterwards give them a screen, something to show us what they've done. With this idea of sort of a bacterial computer able to target a toxin and then change color, I designed this. As you can see, this is a PowerPoint slide in Spanish, literally the first thing I ever did for the project. And with that, I started my lean startup journey. The idea for my value proposition, well, this took 1 hour and $0, was just doing the exact opposite of what the mouse bioassay was doing. Now, in Chile, we had one person that actually monitors red tide. It's the Ministry of Health. And I said, okay, I can sell this kit that I haven't done yet to the Ministry of Health. And if it's only one customer, it can be a really close and personal relationship. And the channel, well, it can be just me distributing to them. So I had to try this out. I went to talk to the Ministry of Health, and they loved it. They say, this is really what we want. We think it's amazing. And I was like, okay, awesome. How much are you willing to pay me for this? Well, absolutely nothing. Can we have it for free? So lesson learned, do not sell to the Chilean government. So, of course, it was pivot time. If your client does not want to pay for your product, that's not a client at all. And my customer relationships and channels made no sense anymore. So I was back where I started. And I could have stopped, but I said, you know what? There's something here. Let's look outside. And the thing is, the losses associated to red tide worldwide are staggering. Just in the States, you have a loss of $37 million average per year in the health industry. In Europe, you have $1 billion only in tourism. And single outbreaks that happen in Japan and in the States can have a loss of up to $1 billion in the fishing industry. So here came my second hypothesis. The industry wants this. Now, my customer segment changed. Now I had, in the fishing industry, fishery managers that had to prove that their food was not poisonous. In human health, all the organisms that actually have to monitor this in different countries. And in tourism, hotel managers that could use this information to actually use retention strategies in their passengers. If I was going to go worldwide, well, I decided I was going to start showing the product in fairs and then sell online. And since I wanted to go worldwide, I was not going to be able to produce enough to supply the demand. So let's license this to another company that already has the production and distribution channels. Now, that was a really risky assumption, so I said, I have to try this out. And I made my first MVP. This is a pregnancy kit that I actually painted, and I put some pH paper inside of it so that I could show the idea of the color change. Now, with this, I want to talk to these 4 potential stakeholders. The idea was to get one letter saying, you know what? Yeah, I would work with this girl. This is a good idea. To my delight, I got 4. So I got a letter to license, to buy, to supply, and to co-develop. And it was going so well that I actually even got the support of Corfu, Chile's Production Development Corporation, and they granted me 3 years of development for the project. This was all done with my disguised pregnancy kit, which cost me 5 hours and $53, and that was mainly because I'm very clumsy, so I kind of broke apart a bunch of those. It was validated with 4 potential stakeholders, which then became my key partners, and now that it was going so well, guess who came back? The Ministry of Health is now working with us, and they actually want to run our tests with us. Now that we had these key partners, our key alliances became clear to us. Our key activities. We had to finish the lab development, then the product development itself, and then we had to ace the field tests. And if we wanted to license this, then our key resources were going to be our patent and our bacterial strand. Now, it was looking very full, so again, we had to validate this. Something crucial. The world wants this. Do we have international validation? So we made this prototype right here, which actually included everything we learned in the previous one. And with this, which is only plastic, I went not only out of the building, but out of the country. So I had the pleasure of doing that amazing trip. The idea was to get a couple of letters, again, saying, I support this, I would buy this, or I'm a key opinion leader, and I know this is going to work. Thing is, I got so many letters. It was looking amazing. I had the US, I had Europe, and when something's going this well, you know something bad's going to happen. I was in Ireland when suddenly someone said, okay, I love your idea, it's pretty cool, but what if instead of going blue, this goes purple? What if part of the bacterial culture starts producing red and the other produces blue, and then you have purple, and it doesn't matter if it's working. If I cannot read the result, it's completely useless. So it was pivot time. We said, how can we actually see what the result is, even if it gets purple? And we were freaking out. But at some point we said, you know what? Everyone's making apps these days. What if there's an app that can actually solve this? And there was an app, a Chilean app called Lab for You, which allows you to actually take a picture of the result of the kit, and then it's going to tell you it's red or it's blue. And now, since we already had the detection kit and the result analyzer, why stop there? Let's send the results to a central database and then use this to make a real-time monitoring software. We can actually see how red tide is moving across the world and close ports if necessary. So we actually went from the one product to a one-stop solution for red tide monitoring. Now, luckily this happened while I was in the middle of this business trip, so I went out and kept talking to people, now in Australia and New Zealand, with the whole idea for the one-stop product. And they loved it so much. I ended up getting 20 support letters in 6 countries plus 5 in Chile. This all happened with this plastic, which cost me 5 weeks and $80. It was validated through 43 meetings in 6 countries. And now my key partners clearly changed. I had 20 international, 5 national, plus Lab for You, our newest edition. And our revenue streams changed, because initially we were just selling this for $50, which is what the industry said. But now we were also selling the management of the database, the app, and the real-time monitoring software, while our cost structure kind of remained the same. It was still just the development, human resources, and lab equipment. Here you can actually see how we went from a PowerPoint slide to a disguised pregnancy kit to plastic, and now, 2015, we are finally developing the bacteria itself. And as you can see, the costs kind of skyrocket. Why does this happen? Well, I have to be honest with you. Biotech isn't lean. Biotech is expensive and it takes time, and even if you are willing to work 24/7, your bacteria may not. It's just not lean. But you know what? Synthetic biology could be. Using the idea synthetic biology has of taking biology out of the lab, using engineering tools, actually using computer monitoring, etc., we can do something very similar to what Lean Startup does while taking your idea out of the building. And with this, we actually pre-developed for 3 years, saving us 10 years of failed development. And now we know that we are completely on track to producing exactly what the market wants. And the thing is, back in 2012, we actually had another latent hypothesis. That is, Lean Startup methodology works for slow development tech, such as biotechnology. We took a leap of faith, we said, yes, it will work, and it did. Thank you so much. I don't know where to look.
So I have nothing to add on this one. My head's still spinning. Alexander?
Thank you.
Oh, excellent presentation. The only thing that kind of remained unclear to me, but it's 2 o'clock in the morning here, so there might be the excuse. I didn't clearly understand the acquisition strategy here. I mean, I understood you flew out, you talked to potential customers, but what's the acquisition strategy and how much is that going to cost you? That was a bit unclear to me. And how you tested it in particular.
Okay, that was part of the interviews as well, I mean, of the meetings. And they are very, there are just a couple of companies that sell this sort of stuff. So it's such a small world that they're all connected. So you just have to go there and be like, hello, I'm a new player. And you have the database of everyone. I kind of compiled it with all the meetings. And then just through direct contact, they would want to buy from you. And the idea afterwards with the software is that that's just going to be open to anyone. So we would actually have many other customers that should come organically, hopefully. I have not tested that yet.
Okay, so I was just asking because in that case, you might want to consider the channels as customers. So
Okay.
I'll give you an example. If Nestle sells yogurt to a consumer, actually their real customers are the retailers. So you should consider your channel partners, not just as partners, but as customers, because you really got to attract them and have a value proposition for them to sell your stuff. Just small advice to you and probably a lot of other people in the room. Consider channels as customers in many cases.
Thank you. Great.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
You used the process to get your target right, and you used it very efficiently. So the idea for the global red tide monitoring is really, really exciting. Have you taken money from Startup Chile or anybody in Chile, or is this just a...
Oh, from the government, just from Corfo.
So
I was
Corfo?
invalidated for Startup Chile because I got a bigger grant.
Okay. Yeah, so...
You're all invited to Startup Chile, by the way. They just opened.
Yeah, you can only go to Startup Chile if you're from outside of Chile, right?
Yeah.
All right, fun.
Terrific job, a lot of fun. Could you, you gave a great description of the evolution of the product in response to the validation you're getting. Could you maybe give us a little more detail? You talked about the purple problem. What scientific, as you're going, obviously you're doing scientific experiments.
Yes.
What evidence did you have? You know, that's a very direct, this is, we're trying to apply in science to a business. Let's talk about the science just for a second.
Okay.
Where is the science from your perspective? Did you
I
run
have a slide.
this latest device? Have you done some proof of concept scientifically to show that it works the way the customers want?
What we're doing right now is that we're actually making the bacteria. It was mainly research before. We kind of said, we need a bacteria that does this and that. So we went to literature and said, okay, there's this gene that does this thing, we can combine it with this, blah, 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 all based on the idea of combining synthetic biology and detection techniques. So we haven't tried the bacteria itself, we're still developing that. For now, we are just de-risking it through more and more research and some key specific experiments. For example, we can test parts of this kind of genetic circuit or software that I talked about. So for now, we know that we've done it already. The bacteria can change color and the bacteria can detect the toxin, but it's not the same bacteria right now. So we have to make it in the same one. Welcome.
Perhaps one more question. You may have covered this, but as you made this pivot to these different industries, the fishing industry and so forth, how many of those were in the set of companies that did agree to work with you? In other words, I'm curious how many of these end customers you talked to and what you learned from them.
Okay, they were mainly from fishing and health industry. I'm just hoping that tourism will get to me afterwards. So for health, I talked to governments and legislators, and I had very important questions for them. For example, I'm actually using a GMO. So I had to go talk to them like, can I use this in your country? And then in the fishing industry, I went to talk to the fishery managers, for example, and also to the standard laboratories that do this sort of thing that are outsourced from the fishing industry. So they all gave a lot of very technical feedback, not much on the economic/market size. Side, sorry.
All right, that's all the time we have for questions. Let's give it up for Kaitek.